Naquan Brown, we talked about him yesterday from Ocean Lakes up there in Virginia Beach, Virginia. He was somebody who Shea Dixon, we went like almost 30 minutes with Shea yesterday, and he put his crystal ball prediction in for Brown. Of course, he commits to LSU, 6'3", 205-pound defensive end, the number 11 weak side defensive end in the country, 194th overall, number 7 in the state of Virginia. Another tall, lean body at defensive end. There's a transition here. They are starting to recruit speed guys on the edge. Now you've got bigger defensive tackles, right? You've got Tyler Shelvin. They're going to take up more space. They're going to be the run stuffers. You don't necessarily have to have the Kirsten Pittmans, the Tyson Jacksons that Bo Pelini had when he was here the first time, right? Your bigger 280-pound defensive ends. It seems like LSU's really wanting to get that speed back on the edge. Kiki Mingo, Sam Montgomery, they weren't the biggest defensive ends, but they were coming off the edge like their hair was on fire every single time, and it feels like that's what LSU wants to be again.
You can identify trends like this throughout different staffs and on different positions. I mean, I can go back to a time where LSU was recruiting basically nothing but 6'3" long-armed receivers from Dupree, Doral, Chark, D. Anderson, Stephon Sullivan. I mean, time and time again, you were getting really tall, athletic wide receivers. Corey Raymond has made no mince no words saying, look, we're going to get corners with long arms that have range. Like we're not recruiting a bunch of 5'9", 5'10" corners. We want guys that are 6 feet tall, 6'1", and that's you go find Cardell Flott. That wasn't the biggest recruit in the country, but he fits what they want, and he's already shown up and done a great job. So in this case, yeah, you're right. I think there's been a priority on getting guys on the edge that are a little leaner, that are a little more athletic. I mean, you can make the case against that. You can make the case for it, but they've committed to it, and they're going to go recruit to it.
He doesn't stay. Brown's not going to stay at 205 pounds. No. We all know that. Once he gets here, he's going to add weight, and so he's not going to play there, but he's still going to be a lean 6'3", 215, 220 pounds, whatever they deem necessary. Savion Jones.
Be bigger than that. That sounds like a wide receiver. 6'3", 215.
You can put 20 good pounds on a frame, a 6'3" frame. There's no doubt. But you're not going to sit there and he's not going to add 35 pounds.
Yeah.
For sure not in year one, right?
No, well, no.
I mean, we've been talking about Miles Brennan's weight for 4 years now, right? I mean, he's got the nickname the Slim Reaper, for goodness sakes. And so his weight's been talked about. And you want to do it the right way, right? You have to do it the right way. You can't just throw 15 pounds, 25 pounds, whatever that number is. It's got to be overtime, and it's got to be done the right way. Now, it's set up now to do that way better than it was back when I was playing. I mean, you got nutritionists, you got the dining hall over at the facility, so it can be done, but it's going to take some time. I think Savion Jones, 6'5", 240, that's what they want everybody to look like, right? The commit from St. James, that's kind of the mold, and they're trying to get some of these lean 6'3", 6'4 guys to be close to that weight, but still have that speed, have that athleticism. Landon Jackson from Texarkana, another weak side defensive end, 6'6", 238 pounds. So there's a mold, Hunt. There's a mold of what they want. It is not a 280-pound defensive end anymore. Back when Bo Pelini had his first stint with LSU.
I just went and looked up Sam Montgomery's what he was listed at. Now this is as a junior, and I realize it's a little bit different. But what do you think he probably was listed at?
Listed 240,
6'5", 260.
Ain't no way. If he was 260 at LSU, I'm 6'1".
Yeah, I don't think he was 260 either.
There's no shot.
And I don't know that he was 6'5". I interviewed him a lot of times. I don't remember him being huge, but he may have been.
I think more of the mold of Kiki Mingo is what they're going for. You mentioned, Corey Raymond wanting long-arm DBs. I think that's what they want off the edge. When you're playing these spread teams, when you're playing a John Rice Plumlee, right, you want to have a defensive end that has the athleticism. Remember when Texas A&M came here and Money Manziel was making everybody look foolish, right? He'd run around and he'd get to the edge and he'd make plays. We tried to do that against LSU, and the defensive ends were faster than him, and they were waiting on him every single time. I think that's what they want to get to. They want to have a defense that, from the interior of their defensive front, pushes the pocket up the field, and they have definitely got that with Shelvin and Glenn Logan and others. And then they want the defensive ends that are coming off the edge with speed, and it's a certain length that they want. It's a certain speed that they want. So Brown is just the latest commitment from LSU football to be in that 6'3", 6'4", 215, 225-pound mold until he gets here with Tommy Moffitt.
We have Mingo at 6'5", 240 at the end, but when he got here, he was 205, 210 for sure.
LSU, man, they keep doing a fantastic job of staying on the recruiting trail, even during this dead period. I told you personality is going to show up in this year's recruiting class. You've got to have it. You have to have the parents and the student athletes trust to get them to commit to you when they have not yet even stepped foot on your campus. It is a hell of a job to recruit a young man and a family to come to LSU when you've never even really seen it. Or if you have seen it, it was at a camp when you were out on the field and you haven't had a chance to even do the whole tour thing, right? Because we know student athletes right now from the high school ranks cannot come on campus. And so this year, more than any other year, you better let that personality show, and you better be able to get that relationship and that trust built up. And we've talked about it. First-year coaches, they are behind the 8 ball right now because they have not had the opportunity to build that trust through these summer camps, through the junior days, and through the boys from the boot. Everybody has those, right? Mississippi, Florida, all these states and different schools have the same junior day with guys from their state. So it's a very important recruiting class. And if your coach does well this year, I think that's a big positive and a big plus because it shows that he can do it no matter what. And student athletes and parents are committing to him. Even though you're not supposed to, they're committing to your coach and not just the program.
And that's probably very safe to do at this point. When you're coming off the best year in the history of the sport, you're not going anywhere, and that's obvious. And if you've got guys who are coming off, rocky year, they're on the hot seat, and you ask questions. That doesn't exist in Baton Rouge. It's as solid as you can be, and that's a good thing.
Inside the Bayou Ford Huddle, Bama will out-recruit LSU yet again. Right now, when you look at the rankings, and I've talked about it, Alabama right now, and they've gained some steam. There's no doubt about that, but they were in the 40s a couple weeks ago. Now they're starting to get some of the recruits that we have seen them get in the past, but normally they are way ahead of everyone else as far as numbers and as far as who they are getting. Now they are in the teens right now. They were at 14 last time I checked. They've got 2 5-star commitments. They've got 6 4-stars, and they got 2 3-stars. But normally they are at the top. They are in the top 3, and they have normally would have had 17 commitments at this point. And so right now, they are trying to figure out how do they recruit during this period. And they're not the only SEC school. The Auburn Tigers are at 25th in the country. Texas A&M, who we just talked about, and we kind of joked about getting a slap on the wrist, they're 27th in the national recruiting rankings, only a couple spots ahead of Arkansas. So there's some teams that are trying to figure out how to recruit, and they're not getting the numbers that they typically get at this point in recruiting. I realize December's still a long ways away, but right now, these teams are normally farther ahead than they are right now.
Look, you would expect Alabama to surge after a huge VRBO Citrus Bowl victory over the 9-4 Michigan Wolverines. You would think that would lead into a dominant recruiting period.
It's not the Overton?
No, it's the VRBO Citrus Bowl. They beat Michigan 35-16. That's a huge win for them, and I think that you're going to see that on the recruiting trail. You're going to see the fruits of that victory in the Citrus Bowl pay off.
VRBO, is that like a Airbnb?
Yeah, rental deal.
All right. Congratulations.
Yeah, the Tide, that's a huge win for them.